Hi everybody, I'm Melinda Gallant and I'm here at Discovery Hill Road, Greenbriar Nature Center, all a part of the Thornton Burgess Society. I am so excited to go in and talk to the executive director and the education director. And I'm holding their program book in my hot little hand here, and I can tell you there's some great things going on here. So come along, let's have a Cape conversation. Well, welcome, and I am sitting with somebody who I think I've known almost as long as I've lived here in Sandwich. Mr. Gene Schott, the executive director, which makes you sound very lofty, you know.
Yes, I know.
Of the Thornton Burgess on Discovery Hill. This is the Greenbriar.
It's the Greenbriar Nature Center.
It would help if I could get it straight, right? The Greenbriar
Nature Center
Nature
and
Center.
Jam Kitchen.
And the Jam Kitchen. We'll
Yes.
talk about the Jam Kitchen. So, Gene, tell me, how long have you been the executive director?
I've been the executive director since the end of 2007. I succeeded a very capable predecessor who's moved on to Maine to become a vintner, and that's Gene Johnson.
Right, and I bet you a lot of people out there who are familiar with Thornton Burgess know Jeannie. She's a great gal for sure. But you did something before you came here. You were at another esteemed museum as well locally.
I was the director of the Heritage Museums and Gardens, it's called now. It was
Right.
Heritage Plantation
right.
when I was there. I was there for 24 years. And I retired. I was retired for 2 days, and Gene asked me to come here and help them raise money for the new education building.
Isn't that great?
That's how I got here.
That's great, and you got it built, didn't you?
We did, yes.
Excellent, excellent. So now we're sitting here today, and the reason why I was really excited about coming here to Thornton Burgess is because I don't think, I hate the term the best kept secret, because nothing should be a secret on Cape Cod if it's doing good and really a wonderful place to go. But you have so many programs for kids, and you do so many wonderful environmental things. So I don't think people realize that. Can you just give me a little hint of some of the things that you're doing?
Well, here's our latest program schedule. It's a spring-summer program schedule. I was just going through it the other day and looking at it, and there are 170 different educational programs in here for children, ranging from very early preschoolers up to children in the junior and senior high school, although we concentrate primarily on the elementary grades.
So I've got grandsons. A couple live here on the Cape. So do you do summer programming as well?
We do a lot of summer programming here. Most of it will start in June, July, and August, particularly after the public schools have closed. But we have a great outreach program in the public schools.
Oh, you do?
We offer any number of programs to schools all over southeastern Massachusetts. We also run a very highly acclaimed program called Project Life, which means studies and environmental education. And Project Life goes to all of the 4th, 5th, 6th, and sometimes 7th graders, depending on how the science curriculum runs in the elementary school and then in the first year of junior high school. And that particular program deals with life in a forest, life in a salt marsh, and life in a meadow, and actually a lot of it takes place at the East Sandwich Game Farm, 133 acres, which we manage. And
now you manage it for whom?
We manage it for the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
Is that right?
The state of Massachusetts.
Well, they must have a lot of trust in you guys to be able to do that.
Well, we hope so, and we've had a series of 5-year management agreements with them. But a lot of that program goes on out there because you have all kinds of habitat there, and you do have a salt marsh, you do have meadows, you do have forests, so we've got all sorts of wonderful environment there for that study. And that program has won a number of awards. It's a long-running program, but it's a program that's extremely popular with students in Sandwich, schools. It's also in the Bourne school system and in the Mashpee school system.
How wonderful. But not down to Falmouth yet.
No,
Falmouth
not yet,
doesn't- Yes,
no.
I see. Excellent. So tell me, we're also sitting in this beautiful room with lots of gorgeous, gorgeous photographs. Were they taken by, these photographs taken by one person in particular? or-
All the photographs in this particular gallery are by Sue Carr, Sue and Elliot Carr, and you may know Elliot.
I do know
as
Elliot
the
very well,
former
actually.
CEO of
Cape Cod
Five.
He wrote the
And-
book
and
Walking
he
Cape,
did, he
Walking
did,
Cape Cod.
as a
And
matter of
actually,
fact.
I told him once it's the #1 book stolen from our cottage. I don't know why, but I keep getting the paperbacks, and I told him he should give me a percentage of
They're
the
both
estate.
wonderful photographers, and Sue's photographs that are in this particular gallery are largely nature scenes and also faces. She's fascinated by faces.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
some were taken in East Asia, some in Cuba, some in the United States.
How wonderful.
Elliot, on the other hand, is much more into birds and nature photography.
We're sitting here, we're at Thornton Burgess. Tell me, who was Thornton Burgess, and why do we care?
Well, Thornton Burgess was probably one of the most popular authors of the first half of the last century.
Is that
He
right?
was born in Sandwich, lived here until he graduated from high school in the 1890s, and then went on to business school in Boston, and then finally out to Springfield, where his mother had moved. And there he started work for the Phelps Publishing Company, worked his way up from office boy to become one of the editors of the Good Housekeeping magazine. And
Wait a minute,
I'm
wait a
sorry,
minute.
was it even Ladies Home Journal? I think it was.
Oh, Ladies Home
And-
Journal.
and-
Okay, but let's just stop there. Wait a minute. Thornton Burgess, who is this, who I think of as an environmentalist, one of the first environmentalists, actually, maybe even the father of it or close to it. I'm not quite sure, certainly. He was the editor of Ladies Home
Well,
Journal.
he was one of the editors of
It's just
the
like kinda
magazine.
blows my mind.
Worked his way up.
So he wasn't this woodsman. I always think of him, kind of with
Well,
the dark suit on, out looking at flora and fauna.
Well, he did that. He did that. What happened
He's
was
wilder than I thought he
that,
was.
that Burgess, his first wife tragically died in childbirth, so he was left to raise a young son. And the boy evidently would not go to sleep at night unless he was read bedtime stories. So Burgess read him bedtime stories, Beatrix Potter stories about Peter Rabbit. When he ran out of the stories to read, he started making up stories about animals that Burgess had seen when he was a boy living here in Sandwich.
Isn't
In
that
fact, he actually roamed the grounds where we are now at
Right.
the Greenbriar Nature Center. And in any event, when the boy went to live with relatives in Chicago for a short time, he missed the bedtime stories. So Burgess started to write them down and send them to him in the mail. And a friend of his said, these ought to be published in a book. And so Burgess was introduced to people from Little Brown and Company, which was at that time,
sure.
one of the leading publishing houses
Sure.
in the United States in Boston. And they came back and said, well, these stories are interesting. If you can come up with a few more of these short stories, we'll put them, a compilation of them, in a book, which they did in 1910. That was Old Mother West Wind. That was his first book for children.
And you celebrated that.
And we
the
celebrated
anniversary
that anniversary
last
in
year?
2010.
2000.
Burgess was later asked to write some more stories and books. He said that he thought he was kind of tapped out, but he did come up with 169 more.
Oh, those authors, they always say, no,
That's
no,
right.
can't
Now,
do
in
it.
order
Did he make
to-
any money is a question.
Well, he did. Later in life, Burgess had a very comfortable income.
Oh, that's good.
And even in the Depression years, his income for stories and speaking and lecturing and so forth, and he had a radio program at that time, although he was not paid to do the Radio Nature League, but he was so popular as a speaker and so forth that he did have a good income. But it's interesting, his wife, his second wife, actually, he married again. And when the Depression started in 1929, she was astute enough to sell her stock and convert it into gold. Burgess did not, and so he lost most of his money, but his wife had sufficient. because.
And they had a good enough
she had-
relationship. She was sharing?
Oh, yes, very
Okay, that was
definitely.
nice.
Very definitely. But Burgess, in order to
hysterical.
write the children's books about animals, he had to gain more and more knowledge about the animals. And so he read, and eventually he became a very talented naturalist.
Isn't that amazing?
And was highly respected by leading scholars in the field of biology and botany.
And to think he grew up here in Sandwich. Did he come back to Sandwich to live?
He came back frequently, and he always regarded himself as a native of Cape Cod. And he would come back, he and his second wife would come back to do antiquing.
Is that right?
And so he got, several times he would speak here. He was the speaker at one of the celebrations of the town of Sandwich when they celebrated, I think it was their 175th or 250th
Is that right?
anniversary.
And they're getting ready to celebrate in 2014,
That's
another
correct.
one, right?
That's right.
Which is very exciting. So he wrote these books for his son. Now, did his son grow up and marry, and are there descendants of Thornton
His
Burgess?
son did, and there are descendants. His son is interesting because Thornton even indicated that when the son was interested in starting businesses and so forth, he always came back to see his father, who helped him. He helped him get started in a business on the West Coast. He also helped him when the son's daughter suffered from polio and needed a number of operations, and Thornton was always willing to help.
And so, are there descendants now? Or
There
have
are
all died
descendants. There are descendants. One of the Burgesses just passed away recently.
off? Is that right?
Yeah.
And do they ever come to Sandwich?
From time to time, they do
They
come
do?
and visit us.
Oh,
here,
isn't that
yes.
nice? Isn't that lovely? Now, how did the museum actually get started? Because I know the Titcombs had something to do with that.
Well, they did. Nancy Titcomb was one of the founders of the Burgess
Right.
Society. In 1974, the town of Sandwich celebrated the 100th anniversary of Thornton Burgess's birth in Sandwich. And in order to celebrate that, they wanted to have some exhibits and they wanted to have information. And so a group of people began collecting all of that information. About the same time, the Women's Committee here in Sandwich became very interested in restoring the Deacon Eldred House downtown,
sure.
which had fallen into rack and ruin, and the town was considering demolishing the building. And
But Thornton Burgess never lived in the.
Thornton Burgess
that
never
home,
lived in
right?
that house.
Right.
He and his mother, his father died when he was quite young, and they were quite poor, and so they lived in 10 different houses here, boarding houses, and they lived
In
with
Sandwich?
members of the family in
Oh, wow,
Sandwich.
wow.
9 of those houses still stand in Sandwich,
Is that right?
including the house where he was born, which one of our trustees resides in at the present time. That's Christy Lorenz, and Christy is writing the most recent book about the life and
Well,
times
and
of Thornton
I
Burgess.
realized that I knew that she was writing that book, that Christy is writing that book.
But anyway, they had compiled all of this material,
Mm-hmm.
and when the women got the town to resurrect the Deacon Eldred House and to restore it, the question arose, what's going to go into the building now that we're saving the building? And the Burgess Society really was
Said they
formed
would.
in 1976 and moved into that building, which is still our Burgess Museum. The
Right.
property here at Greenbriar was acquired in 1979.
I see.
But as the society began expanding because of the popularity of their educational programs.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But so Nancy was one of the founding members.
Nancy
then,
was,
Nancy
and-
Titcomb. For those of you who don't know about Titcombs, they have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful bookshop. And it's sole proprietor, so the family owns the bookshop. It's on Route 6A in East Sandwich. I'm giving them a plug. But it is wonderful. And in front of it, they have this wonderful figure of Ben Jonson. And by the way, I think he was taken out last year by a car, and they've got him back now, so he's all cleaned up and nice and new looking. A wonderful bookshop. But the owner, Nancy Titcomb, the original owner of Titcomb's Bookshop, was one of the founding members
She
here.
was one of the founding members,
that
and
wonderful?
on several
That makes so
occasions,
much sense, doesn't
she
it?
was president of the Board of Trustees here. And
that
is
right?
president emeritus of the Board of Trustees.
Is that right?
Yes.
In perpetuity, I'm sure.
We hope so, yes.
She's wonderful. She is great. So you do a lot of programming here. You have kids who come onto the property, and you do classes here and what have you. But you also do the exhibits, as you talked about this
We
exhibit.
do exhibits, and we also have a series of special events. In fact, May the 18th, 19th, and 20th, we'll have our Herb Festival, which is
wonderful.
a really tremendous weekend.
Yeah.
We have a luncheon here on Friday.
Yeah.
This year we have a number of speakers. There'll be some soil testing going on.
Oh, excellent.
And it's always a wonderful sale of plant material. And a lot of people come not only to support us, but also to get plants for their gardens and yards and so forth.
Well, we're going to go into some other rooms here in this building, and then we're going to go over to the education building. But before we move along, I did want to ask you about, now, okay, so I live here in Sandwich. I don't want this to go away. And every nonprofit on Cape Cod, and especially one that reaches out to so many kids, what can we do to help Thornton Burgess and Greenbriar Education Center?
Well, I mean, this program is,
No, I know that,
is helping,
but if you were going to say,
uh,
is it becoming a member? Should everybody in the town of Sandwich get a
well,
single
it would be
membership?
wonderful if people became members. Our members do get discounts. They get all the publications, so they'll be receiving in the mail our program schedule.
Is this all online as well?
We have a lot of material online.
Great,
We
great.
do have a website. We do have an e-newsletter.
Oh, wonderful.
So that we send out information periodically. So people certainly can join. They can come to the events
They
that
can
we
give
have
money?
here. We have a whole host of events, and of course, that's very important, that they give money.
Just put $10 in an envelope and send it, right?
Well, we have an annual appeal every year
Yeah.
that goes out to members and friends of the Burgess Society. And as people become members, of course, that broadens our base
Right.
of support. And I can say that for 2012, although the economy really hasn't turned around that much yet,
Well, at least not
we're
on
very
Cape.
pleased that our annual appeal has exceeded its goal for the first
Wonderful.
time in a long time.
Excellent.
By
That's
almost
great.
$10,000.
Oh,
And
that's
We're
wonderful.
still collecting for the
Right.
annual appeal.
Of
People
course.
can still give. Our annual budget here runs now in excess of $600,000 a
Wow.
year.
And nobody would think that. You think, oh, well, it's a little museum, it's a little this, but you do so many programs.
We do a lot of programs.
And you have the
and
game farm.
We get a lot of
and
mileage.
you have the Deacon Eldred House.
And we figure that somewhere in the neighborhood of 40,000 people either visit here at Greenbriar, go to the game farm, go to the museum, and some people just come to walk the grounds here, the nature trails, and visit our famous wildflower garden, which
Right.
another one of the founders of the Burgess Society, the late Shirley Cross, Dr. Shirley Cross, was responsible for.
Wonderful. Oh, that's great. Great information. So I know that you have one fundraiser a year, and that is
Well,
like it's a dinner,
We
cocktail
will,
party.
we're working on some ideas for an event that will
summer,
be
right?
held probably late summer or early fall.
Oh,
We
excellent.
haven't finalized all of the events on that yet,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
but we're hoping to have a fundraiser sometime.
Great.
This year we may move it to October. We just haven't decided yet.
Oh, excellent. Well, I know that there are a lot of fun things that go on here. I know that I'm going to look online, and I'm going to snag one of these on my way out for my grandsons that live on Cape, and let my daughter know, who lives just over the bridge, a few miles up the road, as we say, about what's
In fact,
going on
I'll give you
here.
this one.
Oh,
You can
excellent,
take it along
excellent.
with you.
This is great.
Right.
And do you remember what the website is for this? Is it?
It's www.thorntonburgess.org.
Excellent.
That's right.
Excellent. So thorntonburgess.org. Get online. Take a look. And we're going to go, you and I are going to go take a walk and look at seashells. And I just wanted to say, I love this guy. Where did he come from?
That's Grandfather Frog. I don't know. He was here when I came, and
So if I kiss him, will he turn into an old man?
I don't think so. I don't think he'll turn into a prince either.
He'd be an old prince if he's
That's
an old
right,
folk.
yes,
So
definitely.
anyway, he is beautiful, though. He is absolutely beautiful. All righty, let's take a walk
Okay.
and look at some seashells. Well, now here we are in the back gallery.
Yes.
And you have this most beautiful exhibit behind us, and it's all of seashells. Whose seashells by the seashore are these?
Well,
Sally's?
actually, Dave Merrill.
Dave
who's,
Merrill does not rhyme with seashells by the seashore.
No, it doesn't, unfortunately. But Dave is a longtime member of the Burgess Society. And when we knew that Elliott Carr's photographs were going to be back here, we needed something to go in the cases.
Sure.
And Dave was here one day and he said, you know, I used to do scuba diving in Mexico and in the
Wow.
Pacific.
Dave, I didn't know he had it in him.
Particularly at Johnson's Island in the Pacific,
Wow.
where he worked for a number of years.
Really?
So in any event, he agreed to dig these shells out of storage and bring them in and
Oh, they're
display
beautiful.
them here.
And look at this one. Isn't that beautiful? A beautiful sand dollar. And it's a
Yes.
fat sand dollar.
Yes, it is.
You know, it's not the flat kind that
No,
we're used to
no,
seeing
that's right.
here.
That's
So
right.
obviously this came from somewhere else. So now, we're here in the back gallery, and is this an exchanging?
It is a changing, yes, it's a changing exhibition area. We have the Elliott Carr photographs and Dave Merrill's shell collection here. The next exhibit here will be an insect exhibit. Our ethnobotanist, Sharon Ackland, has been collecting insects for years.
Really?
And we also have a Lepidoptera collection, butterflies and moths, here at the Burgess Society.
Well, butterflies and moths I can
so
deal with,
we're going to,
but insects like spiders?
well, no, they're arachnids.
Oh,
they're
they're
not
arachnids.
insects.
That's right. Arachnophobia, which I
So
have.
that's right.
yes.
So in any event, we are going to have, and they'll be mostly Lepidoptera, they'll be mostly butterflies and moths. The exhibit of insects will run from the end of April. This exhibit is in until sometime after the 10th of April. The insects will go in and run from April until the end of July, and then from July to November we'll have the marsh hay exhibit here.
Oh, wonderful. I'll have to come back for that for sure. Now tell me, what are the hours in this building or for Discovery Hill?
In this
Greenbriar?
building, right now, we're open from Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4. In April, we will switch to our summer hours, and that's actually 6 days, Monday through Saturday from 10 until 4. Sunday, 1 until 4. Unless we have a special event on Sunday.
Right.
And then sometimes we open at 10 in the morning.
Wonderful.
The museum will open probably this year, the 1st of June, and will stay open until sometime in mid-October.
Right, around Columbus Day.
And in the museum this year, we're going to have, since
And
Heritage...
that's on Water Street, next to
in
the
Water
pond.
Street, next
Yeah.
to the pond. And this year at the museum, we're hoping to have a major exhibit of the work of Harrison Cady, who was the leading illustrator of Thornton Burgess books.
Oh, wonderful.
Heritage Museums and Gardens will be doing the Norman Rockwell show.
Right, and so
We're
you'll
going to
be there.
show another illustrator,
Excellent.
because Harrison Cady actually illustrated 48 magazine covers during the
wonderful.
course of his career.
Wonderful, that's great. Well, we're going to take a walk over to the Education Center. I'm going to meet with, who am I meeting?
Mary Beers is
Mary
our
Beers.
Director of Education.
Right, I'm going to talk with her a little bit about what goes on over there. I'm going to bid you adieu.
Okay, well,
And it's so good.
it was
Thank
a
you,
pleasure.
Jane.
Thank you.
so much. And see,
I
it
hope
didn't hurt
I
me.
hope you don't lose a lot of viewers as a result
No,
of
no,
this.
no, no. And thank you for all, I mean, the problem is, we all live in the town of Sandwich. We all do all these, you know, we drive by every day. We drive by absolutely every day where, you know, this place, and we don't, you know, we're going to work, we're doing this, we got kids, we got soccer, we got all this stuff, and we don't stop in. And now
that's right.
we need to stop in.
I
And
hope
need
people
to stop
I
in.
hope people will join us for the summer.
Excellent,
Okay.
excellent. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
I am here with Mary Beers. She's the Director of Education for Thornton Burgess. Welcome, Mary, to
Thank
Cape
you.
Conversation. And we're gonna, I know you're running, like racing, because you've done all the animals, you've cleaned them all up. We saw the little hedgehogs, oh my God, they're so cute. And we saw Peter Rabbit, who's indoors right
Right,
now.
because he's old.
Because he's old.
10.
Well,
yeah.
I understand. Trust me, I get it. I'm old too. But you're on your way to the high school. What are you doing at the high school?
And I work, in 1996, I approached Gil Newton, who's the, he was the science chair.
Oh,
he is
sure.
again now at
Yeah.
Sandwich High.
Yeah.
Because we had relied heavily on moms who weren't working to volunteer as field leaders for a program called Project Life, Lessons in Field Ecology. And that wasn't
And Jean,
happening.
by the way, Jean was telling us all about
Good.
that and how wonderful it is.
Great,
So that's
great.
great.
And we were having a hard time getting volunteers. People were working more. And so I approached him because the high school had just gone to 90-minute block scheduling, if he would be interested in having his students in environmental technology be trained by us and help us with our program. And so he was very enthusiastic. We had 22 young men and women that first year, and we had them do both the forest and the pond, and they were shell-shocked. So we said, no, it's too much. So from then on, we've only worked with them with the 4th grades in Sandwich at all 3 schools, Wing, Forestdale, and Oak Ridge. They go into the classroom 3 times. They teach them about the forest ecology, and then they lead them on a field trip out at the forest in the East Sandwich Game Farm. So it's been going on for a long time now, and this group of high school students, and actually a few years now, they had the high school students come in when they were 4th graders. So some of them remember that, but they don't remember Gil and I.
Yeah, it's always the way.
Right, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what else do you do here in the Education Center?
We work in about 45 different schools, private, public, and preschools, from Yarmouth up to Braintree. We do a lot of live animal presentations in the classroom. We do a program that's very popular this time of year called Eggs to Legs. And so the students get to meet animals that hatch out of eggs and eventually grew legs. So we bring amphibians, we bring bird artifacts, we bring turtles. We used to bring a snake until all of a sudden, doesn't get any legs. And we bring...
No, but I bet you it was very
very
exciting
popular,
because
yes,
of a
yes.
snake.
And we bring tadpoles and frogs and things like that. And we do a lot of story times as well. We have all this great legacy of Thornton Burgess, over 170 books that he wrote.
Right.
So we do live animal story times in the preschools. And every Friday here at 10:30, there's a program called Critter Capers. We've been working with the Montessori Middle School in Sandwich. They come. I think there's 6 or 7 8th grade girls. They come with their teacher, and they do the Critter Caper program. And so they study during the week what their presentation is going to be. They brought their chickens one time,
Wow,
and so
that's
they've got a
great.
great following that comes. They were actually disappointed last week because they weren't here. The families that came. And then on Saturdays, we do a live animal story time at 10:30.
Wonderful.
A lot of families come to that. We also have a couple of junior naturalists who help with that.
Really?
We have a junior naturalist program for children 12 years of age and older. And they help us in all summer long in our programs, public
that's
and
great.
family story times and critter capers in the classes for the children.
Now, are you amazed? Do you live in Sandwich? Or
Yes,
you live
I do.
You do
I
live in
yes.
Sandwich.
And my daughter
so-
went right through Sandwich High.
Is
so
that
she's
right?
in college now.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, how
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yes.
But aren't you amazed at the number of people that have never been here?
Yes, when Jean Johnson, our previous executive director, was at a meeting, someone approached her and said, Thornton Burgess, one of the best kept secrets on the Cape. And we've been working really hard. I've been here, it'll be 25 years in May, to not be the best kept secret.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are bumper to bumper on 6A and they can't move and they see the driveway and they pull in and you can see them just calm down.
Right.
No more stress. They sit on the porch. One rainy day, there was a big family group that were having a picnic on the porch. They had just seen the sign and pulled over.
And they just said, oh my gosh, what is this? And then
Right.
they found the beautiful grounds, all the wonderful things to see here.
Right.
And isn't that wonderful? But it's,
Yes.
it's shame on all of us who live here in Sandwich or in the surrounding towns. We should all know what's here on the Cape, and certainly Thornton Burgess and Greenbriar Nature Center is probably one of the premier ecological places that we could take our families to take a look at what's going on, and with the pond out back,
Right.
Smiling Pond,
Right.
and all the wonderful trails. So,
And I know you're all going into the wildflower garden. I'm in charge
Right.
of the wildflower garden.
I promise
there's
I
a
won't
lot-
step on anything.
No, good. Stay on the path.
Stay on the
but
path.
there's a lot of things that are blooming now. And
Right.
so people come here just to get, there are flowers. Winter's over.
Right.
Although last week was a teaser.
I know.
But we're back into the reality of March again on
right,
Cape
right,
Cod.
right. That's okay, though. I
Yes,
think that's
it is.
okay,
That's
because-
part of the cycle. It was
That's
too
right.
much, too soon.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Flip-flops were a little
Right,
early in
right.
March. so
Yes, yes,
anyway.
and there were a lot of flip-flops around, weren't there?
There were. Anyway, Mary, it's so nice to talk to you and
Thank you
meet
so
you.
much.
And thank you for taking time today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Excellent. Well, I had a great time today at Thornton Burgess, and you can hear a little tapping in the background, well, that's because they're expanding their gift shop and redoing a few things. You've got to come out to Thornton Burgess, to Greenbriar Nature Center on Discovery Hill Road off of Route 6A in East Sandwich, Massachusetts. It's a great place. So thanks for coming along, and I'll look for you next time, and we'll have a great Cape conversation.